name is Rohan Wagre. I'm from class 12C and this is my psychology art integration project. So for the project, before my idea was to do a stand-up comedy act, but I've been going through a bit of a rough patch in the past few days and I really don't think that I am in the mindset to make jokes about it. So this is going to be a sort of an internal monologue reflecting on the past few days, because whatever happened to me in those days is reflective of my personality as a whole, and that's what I want to talk about, my personality, because that's the task. And then I'm going to perform a song that shows and speaks of some of the emotional traits that I have. Yeah, so let's begin. So, what exactly happened in the past few days? Well, our school has a TED Ed club, and the past few days were all about preparing for my TED talk. And giving a TED talk has always been a really big dream of mine. I always, imagine myself on stage with loads of people in front of me and myself sharing my ideas with them, feeling this sort of connect with them. And yeah, so I've always dreamt of giving a TED talk, but the thing is, I didn't prepare for it. I was supposed to start preparation around 1 or 2 months ago, but that's another really big part of my personality, which is that I procrastinate. And I procrastinate, I think, mainly for two reasons. Firstly, because of my inherent laziness, which makes me want to push things ahead, which makes me want to delay making any decisions. And secondly, it's a bit of my overconfidence and my ego as well to fault, because I really think that sometimes, most of the times, I can do stuff that others can do in a much longer time. I can do that in a very short amount of time. And I know that that sounds very pretentious, but I still do believe that I function that way. I am not a consistent worker. I am a person who works through spontaneous bursts of energy, and that's why I can really do a lot of work in a single sitting if I am in the mood for doing it. Yeah, so I always believed that, and you know what? Believing that, it might be true, it might not, but believing that makes me want to push things ahead, and eventually that puts a lot of fatigue, a lot of stress on myself, because you're not supposed to function that way. You're not supposed to do a lot of work in the form of a spontaneous burst of energy, because you get stressed, you get tired, and it's just better to avoid that, isn't it? But this time, like so many instances before, I did not learn my lesson and I proceeded to procrastinate a lot till around a week was left before the TED talk. So yeah, this is it. The stage was set. A week was left before I had to give my TED talk, and surprisingly, the idea for my TED talk just struck me one day, and it was really beautiful. The idea was so good, and it just came to me out of nowhere. But little did I know that you also not only need an idea, but you need to expand on it. You need to start building a script for giving a TED talk. And again, my overconfidence made me think that I am familiar with my idea. I think I can push this a bit and develop my script later on. Why do I even need a script? I can just speak from my heart. And then that's how I started falling into this rabbit hole, which I dug for myself. Eventually, there were 3-4 days left before my TED talk, and I saw all my friends presenting theirs during our rehearsals, and that's when another part of my personality kicked in, the one which tends to compare myself with others a lot. And when I saw their fully furnished TED Talks with definite scripts, with every single word fixed, I really began to worry. I and the thing is, when I start comparing myself to others, and when I find that they are going ahead of me, I am not angry at them. I don't get jealous of them. I just start I just start demotivating myself. I start being angry at myself. Why aren't you there yet? You are so much better than these people. That's exactly what goes on in my head. And yeah, I torment myself. I torment myself by overthinking. I am an overthinker, which is a big part of my personality, and the one that I really want to stress on in this monologue, because that point where I saw everyone else giving their TED talks during the rehearsal, that's when I began to overthink, and that's when it started to take a toll on me. There was a lot of pressure. I work under controlled pressure, but this was just a mountain of pressure, and I couldn't handle it. So 3 days left. I had to write my script, and I said to myself, "You must get yourself together now." And I started writing my script, but something was wrong. The script wasn't getting written. I couldn't express myself uh, in the form of words. I mean, all these ideas that I had before, which were so beautiful, I couldn't put them on paper. And that was because of this big looming personality trait, uh, which is I don't know if there's a term for it, so I just call it the performer's sickness. And what I mean by that is there is always an urge inside me to perform for others, to impress others, create something that's considered good, that's considered important by the rest of the world. You see, like since 8th grade, I was always considered the kid who went out of his way to create something that others wouldn't. Especially in academic projects, I would really, push my own boundaries and somewhat overdo myself and create something that nobody else even thought of. And I was really appreciated for that, and that eventually started to get to my head. It started to become this really key part of my personality, and it puts an additional pressure on me to always exceed everyone else's expectations, to always please the audience of people watching me. And yeah, so that kicked in while writing the TED talk, and that's why I couldn't write it well. Even though I had 3 days left, in those 3 days, I should have really, started by having realistic expectations from myself. I should have said, okay, I have limited days now. Maybe I can't do something that's extremely grand, but you know what? I have certain ideas, they are really good, and I can make them work. But the exact opposite happened. I wanted to create an absolute spectacle for my TED talk. I wanted my TED talk to be everything, just to impress others. And ironically, the topic of my TED talk was about how to put your heart and soul into your work, and it had a subsection on why you shouldn't care about impressing others. But that was exactly what I was doing. And that's how I spent the 2 days, 3 days I had for writing my script. Overthinking, setting myself unrealistic expectations. And it was a bad phase, a bad patch, because I had to work a lot. I didn't sleep. I went through around 3 sleepless nights, maximum 4 or 5 hours of sleep in total, in like 3 days. So like 5 hours out of 72 hours I was sleeping, and humans aren't supposed to function like that. And all this, it ended up with a lot of fatigue inside me. And on the day when the TED talk was to be recorded, I had no script. I just went to school and with like I was writing my script in the rickshaw. I was a complete mess, a complete chaos. And when I got there, I sat outside the recording room where all everyone else's TED talks were being recorded, writing my script on the staircases. And you know what? I have such amazing friends, I can say that, because they would approach me constantly and ask me, "Are you okay? Chill, don't take too much tension." And I would smile back at them, but that was really not. I was faking it up. I was faking it. I was extremely worried. I couldn't give my TED talk. I just wasn't myself that day. I was there, but I was not there. I was not present in the moment. And of course, in those 6 hours, because I was not at my optimal phase, because I was so done, so fatigued over the last 3 days, I couldn't write my script and I couldn't give my TED talk. After that, I was extremely broken, disappointed in myself. Um, I went home and yeah, thankfully my parents really got me out of it. They didn't exactly, just help me calm down, and they scolded me first. They scolded me for just focusing on the TED thing for 5-10 days straight when I had so many other things to do. And I just agreed with them the entire time. They saw that I wasn't myself, and they told me that you have the ability to do really good things, but you are wasting it by overthinking, by putting a lot of pressure on yourself and putting unrealistic expectations from yourself. So that night, I think I cried a bit. I cried a bit alone. Uh, Again, that's one of the things I do. I don't really express myself emotionally to other people. I don't be vulnerable to others, and that's something I really want to change from now onwards. I want to be vulnerable to my friends and to my family. But anyways, my parents told me, don't think too much now, just go to sleep. The next day, I took a break from school in order to get my head cooled down, and thankfully, praise God and praise my TED Ed Club leader, Riddhi. She allowed me to record my TED Talk anytime later on for 3 or 4 days from home. And the next day, when my head was actually cleared, I don't know, everything just fell into place, and I was able to write an amazing script with all my ideas, with a nice flow and nice structure, and I was able to record the TED talk that I always wanted to record, be it from home, but still. And yeah, and then I submitted the TED talk. But even the next day in school, when I came to school, my friends and my TED Talk members didn't ask me whether you have recorded it or whether you have sent it yet. The first thing they asked me was whether I'm okay, whether I was doing fine, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that I have such friends in my life, and they told me that if you need anything, just talk to us, be open to us, and that's something I really want to do now. I want to start being more open to the world, and I'm starting here by being vulnerable in this video, by expressing myself freely, expressing all these parts of my personality that I knew I had, but I didn't really seek out help for. Right. So that's it. I wanted to, I mean, this was supposed to be a thing where you have to talk about your personality as a whole, but since I've gone through all this in the past few days, these are the only few traits that I could think about right now which really stand out to be. I am much more than just a person who overthinks, thinks himself of too much. I I am a good person at heart, I believe. I am capable of doing good things. It's just that these few traits of mine, they hold me back, and I want to change that. With this video, I'm going to keep on seeing this video from time to time, and I'm going to remind myself that I need to improve. Right, so whew, getting a bit less serious now. I'm going to perform a song for you all. So this song is called "The House of the Rising Sun," and a little bit of history about this song. This song is really old. I mean, nobody knows how old this song is. It's a folk song which is said to come from America or even 15th century Europe. Nobody really knows, and somehow it traveled from generation to generation. It reached rock and roll. It reached the blues genre, which I love, and somehow through my fascination for old music and my guitar, it traveled to my ears. So the lyrics for this song are about a house in the city of New Orleans. Now nobody knows what this house is. There have been speculations about it. Many people say it's a pub, many people say it's a gambling house, many people say that it's a brothel, and many people even say it's a jail. But whatever it is, it's not a good place. It's not a good place to be, and the narrator talks about that. How it's not a good place to be, and how he doesn't want to be there, but something keeps pulling back him to the house of the rising sun. And for me, my house of the rising sun is these traits of mine that I just talked about. Overthinking, comparing myself to others, procrastinating, thinking too much of myself, having unrealistic expectations from myself, constantly having to perform for others and try to impress others instead of just being myself, not being vulnerable to others and bottling up all my emotions. And yes, although I told you that I'm going to improve, I'm going to take steps to improve from this has been my story so far. I mean, although there have been several instances in which I said to myself, I'll improve, I still came back to my house, the house of the rising sun. And yeah, it's sad, but that's how it has been for me so far. And this song was just really reflective for it. So here it goes.